Today, we're putting Mary Shelley's Frankenstein on the therapist's couch. We're going to move past the classic horror movie stuff, the lightning, the stitches, and get into the real, unsettling story. Because the true horror in Frankenstein isn't the creature, it's the mind of the man who created him. You know, the whole story hinges on this one bizarre moment. Victor Frankenstein works for years, obsessively, to do something no one has ever done: create life from death. And he pulls it off. This should be the single greatest moment of his life, a Nobel Prize-winning, history-making achievement. But what does he do? The second the creature opens its eyes, he runs screaming from the room. It just makes no sense. Why? Now, the easy answer, the surface reason, is that the creature was just ugly. You know, the yellow skin, the watery eyes, all that. But a psychoanalytic look at the story tells us something way, way more disturbing is going on. Victor didn't run because the creature was so strange. He ran because, on some deep subconscious level, it was terrifyingly familiar. Okay, so let's start our investigation right there, with Victor's completely baffling reaction. I mean, this isn't just a little disappointment. This is a full-on psychological breakdown right at the moment of his greatest success. Because what this approach shows us is that the entire catastrophe of the novel, every bit of suffering, every murder, it doesn't actually begin when the creature takes its first breath. Nope. It starts way earlier, deep inside the fractured, trauma-ridden mind of Victor Frankenstein himself. So, how do we prove that? Where do we find the evidence of what's really going on inside his head? Well, you look in the one place we can never lie: our dreams. The real key to understanding Victor's terror isn't in his lab notes. It's in the nightmare he has the very same night his creation comes to life. And, wow, what a nightmare it is. Victor dreams he's holding his fiancée, Elizabeth. He leans in to kiss her, and in that instant, her lips turn this horrifying, deathly color. She literally transforms right there in his embrace into the rotting corpse of his own dead mother. I mean, this isn't just some random bad dream. This is his subconscious screaming out a confession. This one dream basically cracks the code for his entire motivation. See, his obsession with creating life, it was never really about science. It was a desperate, subconscious mission to conquer the one thing that broke him: his mother's death. He wasn't trying to build a new atom. He was trying to bring his mother back from the grave. In psychoanalysis, this kind of unresolved grief and obsession is a classic sign of what Freud would call an Oedipus complex. So that nightmare, that's our first huge clue. Now for the second piece of the puzzle, the specific kind of fear Victor feels. He isn't just grossed out by the creature. He's horrified by what it's showing him about himself. And this leads us to a really cool idea called the uncanny mirror. To get this, we need to talk about a psychoanalytic term, the uncanny. It's that super specific, creepy feeling you get when something is both totally strange and yet secretly a little bit familiar. You know, like a robot that looks almost human but not quite, or a stranger who has your exact same laugh. It's the chill of seeing a piece of yourself where it absolutely should not be. Let's think about it with an analogy. Imagine Victor standing there in his lab. In his mind, he's just an audience member watching a horror movie. The monster is over there, on the screen, totally separate from him. But here's the twist that psychoanalysis gives us. Victor isn't in the audience at all. He's actually the projector. The horror isn't coming from out there in the world, it's coming from inside him. You see, the creature is just a blank screen, and the horrifying film being projected onto it, that's all of Victor's own baggage, his ambition to be like a god, his hidden rage, his grief, all of his trauma. He's absolutely terrified because, for the first time ever, his inner demons have a physical body. So, and this is the most important part, when Victor Frankenstein bolts out of that laboratory, he isn't running away from some monster made of body parts. He is, quite literally, running away from himself. Okay, so let's put these two big ideas together. We've got the unresolved grief for his mother, and we've got this uncanny horror of seeing himself in his creation. So how do these two psychological problems lead to the absolute train wreck that is the rest of the novel? Well, they set off a tragic chain reaction. It's really just this cascade of failure, passed down from the creator to his creation. It starts with Victor's psychological wound, which pushes him to create this being in the first place. Then, out of pure self-hatred, he commits the ultimate moral sin. He abandons his child.
That act of abandonment creates a brand new, devastating trauma in the creature. And that trauma, it doesn't just make the creature sad or angry. It hardens, it calcifies into a cold, logical mission for revenge. Victor's inner wound becomes the creature's outer weapon.
So, when you put it all together, what's the big takeaway from all this psychoanalysis? Well, it completely changes Frankenstein from just a monster story into something much deeper. It becomes this incredible psychological warning. The real monster in this book isn't 8 feet tall and made of dead body parts. The real monster is invisible. It's the unhealed, festering wound inside a person's psyche. The horror of Frankenstein isn't about the dangers of playing God. It's about the very real danger of refusing to face the monsters we carry inside ourselves.
And that really leaves us with one final, pretty uncomfortable question to think about. Victor Frankenstein literally built a monster because he couldn't deal with his own. So it makes you wonder, right? What parts of ourselves, our own secret ambitions, our griefs, our anger, what parts do we refuse to even look at until they have no choice but to burst out and get projected onto the world for everyone else to see?